All right, 23 minutes before 9 o'clock. Beautiful Friday morning. This is Labor Day weekend. If you're taking off today, you got a big 4-day weekend. Maybe taking off early, you got a 3.5-day weekend. Right now, Robin and I have some news. We put the news back in News Talk during this segment. We take the news, we boil them down so that we have just one paragraph or so. There is one exception to that today.
Yeah.
We deliver the hottest, freshest news, bite-sized. These are small bits of news that you can now go to after you hear them. You can go online and check out the full stories if you want to know more about these things. We will give you, in most cases, the resource we use. The only time we won't is if we don't have it. Once in a while, we'll get a news release and it's just not identified where it comes from. But chances are you can probably Google it and find it for yourself. So the first one, here we go, Robin. The goal of the cruise missile strikes the United States is planning to carry out in Syria is to restore the smudged red line that President Obama drew a year ago against the use of poison gas. If carried out effectively, the strikes may also send a signal to Iran that the White House is prepared to back up its words. No small consideration for an administration that has proclaimed that the use of military force remains an option if the leadership in Iran insists on fielding a nuclear weapon. But the military strategy that the Obama administration is considering is not linked to its larger diplomatic strategy of persuading President Bashar al-Assad of Syria to yield power and support negotiations that would end the bloody civil war. Even if the American-led attack includes Allied aircraft, the options that appear to be under consideration by President Obama for Syria, 1 or 2 days of cruise missile strikes from at least 4 United States Navy Arleigh Burke-class destroyers in the Mediterranean Sea would not amount to the sort of open-ended campaign that might compel Mr. Assad to negotiate a transfer to a transitional government. That's a story from the New York Times, by the way.
Wow. And this story is about Syria. 18 Democrats in the House of Representatives have joined with 98 Republicans in signing a letter to President Barack Obama telling him that he cannot constitutionally take military action in Syria without prior congressional authorization. The signatories of this letter include not only some of the most outspoken liberals in the House, such as Representative Jim McDermott, Representative Earl Blumenauer, and Representative Zoe Lofgren, but also some of the most outspoken conservatives. This is a quote that was this is a quote that came from the letter that was signed by the 18 Democrats and 98 Republicans. We strongly urge you, meaning Obama, to consult and receive authorization from Congress before ordering the use of military force in Syria. Your responsibility to do so is prescribed in the Constitution and the War Powers Resolution of 1973. The 18 Democratic and 98 Republican House members who signed this letter also told President Obama that he acted unconstitutionally when he unilaterally ordered U.S. military action in Libya in 2011 without congressional authorization. That's a really hot topic today.
Yeah, well, at least they're kind of holding their ground as to their beliefs.
Exactly. I mean, you have to have,
All right, next one. It was a rare, bright spot on an otherwise hazy, smoke-filled horizon as firefighters worked to get a grip on one of the largest wildfires in California's history. An evacuation advisory was lifted yesterday for residents of Tuolumne City. I don't know if I'm saying the name right, a picturesque community threatened by the blaze. In a further sign of progress, authorities also withdrew similar advisories for 2 other Northern California communities close to the flames, Soulsbyville and Willow Springs. Known as the Rim Fire, the conflagration has charred nearly 200,000 acres, cost the state more than $39 million to date, and is threatening 5,500 structures, of which 4,500 are residences. It's the fifth largest wildfire in California history. Yesterday, it was in its 12th day, and it had only been contained 32%, according to Cal Fire. That's a slight improvement from the 30% containment the day before. Because of the approaching flames, officials have shut down electricity generators, and the city of San Francisco, more than 120 miles to the west of the fire, is temporarily getting their power from elsewhere.
For generations, pot crusaders have called for an end to the nation's prohibition of marijuana, citing everything from what they say are the government's exaggerated claims about its dangers to the racial disparities in who gets busted for drug possession. Now they will get their chance in Colorado and Washington state to show that legalizing pot is better, less costly, and more humane than the last 75 years of prohibition, all with the federal government's blessing. In a sweeping new policy statement, the Justice Department said yesterday that it will not stand in the way of states that want to legalize, tax, and regulate marijuana, as voters in Washington and Colorado did last fall, as long as there are effective controls to keep marijuana away from children, the black market, and federal property. Voters in Oregon and Alaska could weigh marijuana legalization measures next year, and several states could face ballot questions in 2016. This is from the Associated Press.
All right, you're listening to News Bites. This is the program, the section of the morning program, I should say, that we put together specifically so that we could bring you as much news in a short period of time as possible. Those of you who are interested in news, you've tuned into News Talk for that reason, and we're putting it back in there. We may have been dropping the ball on that in many regards, not just us here, but in many ways around the nation in News Talk. So we bring it back somewhat, and the other talk shows obviously will bring some of these up and speak about them at length. Right now, we bring them to you bite-sized, one paragraph or so. The next one is so disturbing, Robin.
Oh.
Next one is so disturbing. I don't know if you heard this one before. Kim Jong-un's ex-girlfriend was among a dozen well-known North Korean performers who were executed by a firing squad 9 days ago.
Oh.
According to South Korean reports. Her name, she was a singer, Hyun Song-wol, I believe. She was a former lover of the North Korean leader. She is said to have been arrested on August 17th with 11 others for violating laws against pornography.
Oh, my gosh.
Hyun Song-wol starred in a video in 2005 for a hit song that she sang called A Girl in the Saddle of a Steed, if it's translated. The reports in South Korea's Chosun Ilbo newspaper indicate that Hyun, a singer with the Unhasu Orchestra, was among those arrested on August 17th. This is only August 30th.
Oh, my
She's
gosh.
already executed.
Oh.
And by the way, she was executed 9 days ago. So they didn't waste any time. She was arrested for violating domestic laws on pornography. All 12 were machine gunned to death 3 days after being arrested.
Oh, my God.
Other members of North Korea's most famous pop groups and their immediate families were forced to watch.
Oh, my God.
The onlookers were then sent to prison camps, victims of the regime's assumption of guilt by association. The 12 who were executed were singers, musicians, or dancers with the band.
Oh, my God.
Holy mackerel.
That is so disturbing.
There you go.
Oh, gee. Well, let's find one from a lighter note.
You want to balance it out a little bit?
Yeah. New York City mayoral hopeful Anthony Weiner has hired a California firm called Crowds on Demand. That firm is paying actors Anthony Weiner is paying actors $15 an hour to show support for him at campaign events. A source with direct knowledge of the deal told the New York Post that many of the supporters for the embattled Democrat at the August 11th Dominican Day Parade in Manhattan, for example, were really actors. The source said the campaign hired the company within days after Sidney Leathers came forward to say that Mr. Weiner had continued having online affairs well after he disgracefully resigned from Congress. The Weiner campaign reportedly asked the company to have actors seem like either supporters or people who met him and became supporters as a result of that encounter.
Yeah, I could have saved him some money.
So, Yeah, how would you?
Just go to Fiverr.com.
Oh, there you
It's
go.
only $5 over there. He's paying $15 an actor. They'll do it for $5.
Exactly.
All right, the next story. A Government Accountability Office report examining the integrity training programs and procedures of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency, also known as CBP, to consider expanding its polygraph program to incumbent officers and agents. The quote from the report said, "We recommend that the Custom and Border Protection Agency assess the feasibility of expanding the polygraph program to incumbent officers and agents. According to the report, the agency already subjects applicants to background investigations and polygraph examinations, and incumbent officers and Border Patrol agents to random drug tests and periodic re-investigations to guard against corruption and misconduct." Internal Affairs officials at the Customs and Border Protection Agency responded by stating, quote, "They are considering implementing a polygraph requirement for incumbent employees, but that the agency had not yet assessed the feasibility of expanding the program beyond applicants." The agency established a quality assurance program in 2008 to review on a monthly basis no more than 5% of all completed investigations, and that would include background checks and polygraph checks, to ensure the quality and timeliness of the investigations and to identify any deficiencies in the investigation process. As of September of last year, the Custom and Border Protection Agency officials stated that they had not consistently completed the monthly checks because they had prioritized resources to screen applicants to meet hiring goals. You mean they're not these guys are not being trusted 1 month at a time? It's like, well, we got to give you another test. It's been a month. Let's see if you're going to lie about anything.
There you go.
Interesting.
2 conjoined infants have successfully been separated through an operation last Saturday in the Dallas hospital. Owen and Emmett Ezel were both conjoined from their breastbone to their hip bone. Before the surgery, they shared a liver and an intestinal tract. 5 days after their surgery, the 6-week-old infants are reported to be in stable condition at the Medical City Children's Hospital in Dallas, Texas. Dr. Claire Schwendeman, a neonatologist treating the twins, said he was cautiously optimistic for the twins' recovery. They're on some breathing support, but they've stabilized. Schwendeman said incidents of conjoined twins are extremely rare and are estimated to occur at a rate of between 1 in 50,000 to 1 in 200,000 births. Depending on where the twins are conjoined, the survival rate for the infants is extremely low. Schwendeman said that the Ezel twins were estimated to have a 40 to 50% chance of survival.
I saw the video where the mother was reacting to the news that her babies were successfully separated. They were, as you mentioned, they were sharing. They had 2 separate hearts, but they were sharing intestine.
A liver, yeah,
okay.
and an intestinal tract.
So, I mean, she was so happy and so appreciative. It made you feel good to see that story. All right, the next story, kind of a silly one, I guess, but we need one now and then. The originator of the now ubiquitous foam finger is disappointed at his creation being degraded by Miley Cyrus in her controversial performance with Robin Thicke at the MTV Video Music Awards on Sunday.
That's right.
59-year-old Steven Schmeller created the first finger back in 1971. Is that his name, Steven Schmeller?
I guess so.
Back in 1970, when he was a 16-year-old kid looking for a way to cheer on his school basketball team in the Iowa State Championships. Schmeller never imagined his homage to school sports would eventually find its way onto the stage with a 20-year-old pop star clad in skin-colored latex bikini doing unspeakable things to the foam finger that he created.
Yeah, she did.
Miley Cyrus's thrusting, grinding, twerking, and inability to keep her tongue inside of her head has been much remarked since the performance, but for Schmeller, it was particularly distasteful. He said she took an honorable icon that is seen in sporting venues everywhere and degraded it. He went on to say, fortunately, the foam finger has been around long enough that it will survive the incident. Holy mackerel.
I like that.
He was upset that his foam finger creation was being abused by Miley Cyrus on TV.
That's right. An increasingly strained grid will power the lights of London and the rest of the United Kingdom as the country shuts down its coal plants and awaits new ones. British authorities have been issuing some some dire-sounding warnings. In February, the man then in charge of Ofgem, Britain's industry regulator, warned of an impending near crisis of energy supply, calling the situation horrendous and likening it to being on a roller coaster headed downhill fast. Deputy Minister Nick Clegg was quoted saying that he was working to keep the lights on. In June, Ofgem released a capacity assessment warning that risks to electricity security of supply over the next 6 winters have increased since our last report in October of 2012. The report warned that Britain's ability to provide spare electric power capacity could plunge to between 2.5%, about half of what it is now. The main reason for the possible crunch? Britain is closing a number of aging coal-fired plants, as well as some oil and nuclear ones, to meet European Union environmental laws.
You're listening to News Bites. Robin and I do this program live each morning. This segment of AM Ocala Live called News Bites is hot, fresh news served bite-size, and if you would like to advertise on it, you can actually have Robin or I promote your product, your service, your company. It's easy. It's called advertising, and we will do it as a live ad. Just call the WOCA business line 732-8000. Speak to Tish Moeller or Joe Martone or Dan Martone, and they will set you up and tell you what you need to do to buy some advertising, and it'll be part of this program and whatever other program on WOCA you choose. The next story comes out of Toledo, Ohio, and you will have a reaction to this story. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
The University of Toledo Medical Center admits that a nurse threw away a teenager's donated kidney before it could be transplanted into his sister last year.
Oh.
But they are asking a state court to dismiss a lawsuit filed by the family. The University of Toledo Medical Center eventually was able to arrange another kidney for Sarah A. Fudax, and she had a successful operation in Denver last November. But now, in court papers, the medical center denies it was medically negligent by throwing away the donated kidney. The hospital is also challenging claims by the family to recover damages for pain and suffering, according to the Ohio Attorney General's office, which is defending the medical center because it is a public university. Last August, here's the rest of that story. Last August, 24-year-old Fudax at the time and with end-stage renal failure was under anesthesia and ready to receive a perfect match kidney donated by her 17-year-old brother, Paul. But the transplant operation was stopped when a nurse accidentally threw away the donor organ.
Oh, my God.
It was stored in a protective slush, according to legal papers. Doctors tried to resuscitate the kidney after realizing it had been thrown in the trash, but it was rendered unusable, according to the report.
Oh, my God. A judge in Los Angeles ruled Thursday that a lesbian Army veteran and her spouse should be entitled to disability benefits, given the recent Supreme Court ruling that struck down part of the Defense of Marriage Act. U.S. District Judge Consuelo Marshall said that a federal code defining a spouse as a person of the opposite sex is unconstitutional under rational basis scrutiny, since the High Court's decision allowing legally married gay couples the right to health care benefits. The Department of Veterans Affairs denied an application from veteran Tracy Cooper Harris and her spouse seeking additional money and benefits that married veterans are entitled to receive. Cooper Harris suffers from multiple sclerosis and receives disability benefits. She and Maggie Cooper Harris got married in California during the brief period in 2008 when same-sex unions were legal in the state. The plaintiff's attorneys had said previously the couple would receive about $150 more a month in disability payments, and Maggie Cooper Harris would be eligible for about $1,200 a month in survivor's benefits if her wife died.
Oh, wow. The next story out of Arizona, the widow of one of the Arizona firefighters that was killed in June while battling a massive blaze has given birth to their baby boy. Amanda Meisner was 7 months pregnant when her husband, 26-year-old Sean Meisner, died along with 18 other members of his fellow Prescott Granite Mountain Hot Shot crew on June 30th. I know you all remember that story. On August 22nd, Amanda gave birth to a baby boy, Meisner gave the baby boy the name Sean after his deceased dad. The fire killed 19 of 20 members of the Granite Mountain hotshot crew, who ranged in age from 21 to 43 years old. Authorities believe the wildfire began on a Friday with a lightning strike in Yarnell, Arizona, about 90 miles northwest of Phoenix, and spread to at least 2,000 acres by that Sunday amid triple-digit temperatures, low humidity, and windy conditions. The Yarnell fire was the deadliest day for U.S. firefighters since the September 11, 2001 terror attacks, by the way, when 340 firefighters died.
And female U.S. Naval cadet, she is set for the third day of testimony in her rape case. Lawyers for 3 U.S. Naval Academy football players accused of rape will resume their attacks today on the credibility of a female midshipman who urged the cadets to lie to investigators to avoid being forced to leave school. The woman, now a senior at the elite military school at Annapolis, Maryland, is set to testify for a third day during a preliminary hearing that will determine whether the case should proceed to a full court martial. The men, Travis Bush, 22, Eric Graham, 21, and Joshua Tate, 21, are accused of sexually assaulting her last year while she passed out after drinking at an off-campus party. The hearing follows a spate of high-profile military sexual assault cases, including some involving personnel whose job it was to prevent sexual abuse. During cross-examination yesterday, Bush's attorney Andrew Weinstein presented a 2-minute telephone recording between Tate and the woman in which she asked him to lie to Navy investigators during the early stages of the case. The woman said during the call recorded by Tate, "I need you to say nothing happened. I hate to ask you to lie, but I don't want this to go anywhere." The woman, who was a 20-year-old sophomore at the time of the alleged incident, has testified that she did not want to get anyone in trouble. She said she also told Graham to lie during the initial investigation because she did not want the case to proceed. She has said she feared her mother would force her to leave the highly selective school, which educates Navy and Marine officers. Students are known as midshipmen. Weinstein challenged contradictory statements made by the woman to Navy investigators in September of 2012. They included one that she had said 13 seconds of memory relating to sexual activity that night, something she did deny on Wednesday. The woman contradicted an interview she gave to CNN in which she said the 3 men had pressured her not to cooperate with investigators. She testified that Tate had been the only one to do so. Weinstein grilled the woman on her sexual history with Bush, with whom she earlier had a consensual sexual relationship, and about her drinking. She testified she had started drinking at 17. Under later questioning by Graham's attorney, Lieutenant Commander Angela Tang, the exhausted-looking midshipman burst into tears several times when she was asked if she felt she was in physical danger during the investigation. She also admitted lying when she told a counselor that she had had 2 drinks at the party. On Wednesday, she said she had drunk at least 7 shots of rum.
That one was a little bit confusing, and I know it was kind of long. All right, one more. Instead of rah, 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 some Florida schools are saying no, no, no to short cheerleader skirts.
Ooh!
Cheerleader skirts are too revealing for the classroom, according to some. The decision to ban cheerleader skirts during classroom hours is being ridiculed as short in spirit by some Pinellas County high school cheerleaders and parents. School leaders say the uniforms just aren't appropriate for classrooms and don't fit into student dress code. Sophomore Gina Fraser has been cheering since middle school, and she scored a spot on the Countryside High School varsity cheerleading team this year. She told CNN that her shorter than mid-thigh skirt is part of tradition.
That's right.
The football players and the cheerleaders wear their uniforms every Friday during the school on game day. She said it's a way to pump up the kids to be excited about the upcoming game.
Exactly. Don't ban them.
All right, that's the end of our little segment we call News Bites. We take the news, we break it down to as short as we can, if possible, and we deliver them to you bite-sized. We do this each weekday morning. If you'd like to sponsor the thing, Robin and I will read your ad live, as we do everything during this segment. No recorded ads during this segment. How about that?
Nothing.
We will read it live. Call Dan, call Joe, call Tish here at WOCA. They'll tell you how you can do that or buy ads on any segment of the WOCA schedule. This is The Source, WOCA. Give us a call, 732-8000. Right now, we'll take a little break and make room. Jim George is coming in now, right? Do I have it right?
Yes, he is.
I have it right. Okay. We'll be right back.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
ABC News Now. I'm Karen Chase. British Prime Minister David Cameron says he hopes President Obama will understand he had to heed the wishes of his people when British Parliament voted against a military strike on Syria. Aides say the president would be willing to act without British backing. You can't say you haven't been warned. Before you take your next Tylenol, it'll be hard to miss the bright red warning label on the cap reading contains acetaminophen and always read the label. The new wording is aimed at reducing the risk of overdoses, which are a leading cause of liver damage. Some have canceled camping plans for the weekend at Yosemite National Park in California, but officials there say the fire is 33% contained and the park is upwind with clear views and no smoke. Critics say the NFL scored a legal touchdown by reaching a $765 million settlement with players with head injuries, especially since the league makes over $9 billion a year. Maybe Tim Tebow won't get cut again this season. In last night's preseason game with the Patriots, he made 2 touchdown passes to lead the team to a 28-20 victory over the Giants. This is ABC News.
At Advance Auto Parts, getting the chance to save and win is your Advance advantage. Right now, you can get a 5-quart jug of Valvoline conventional oil and a DriveWorks filter for just $21.99. You save about $8. Plus, you can enter to win a $25,000 garage giveaway. That's like saving